Hi everyone, today we're going to be diving into a new lens from 7Artisans. It's their 7mm f2.8 fisheye lens, Mark II. Now the Mark II brings in an updated body and optical lens design, and it's going to be offered at a very reasonable price of just $278. And full disclosure, I'd like to thank 7Artisans for sending me a copy to test, but rest assured this is a fully independent review. I haven't been paid or sponsored to do this video, and they won't be seeing it before it's published. So with that said, let's dive in. Now let's take a quick look at what comes in the box, and it's not like just the lens and paperwork. You also get this very stylish leather-like case that's very thickly padded, so it'll protect your lens, and it looks really good, and I think it's a nice touch. The lens also comes with a metal lens cap that fits snugly over the built-in pedal-shaped metal lens hood. Now let's look at the build quality and handling, and this lens is built like a tank. I mean, it has an all-metal build and it weighs nearly 602 grams or 1.5 pounds. But it is beautifully crafted, as I've come to expect from 7Artisans. It has a full metal barrel and lens mount. It features a very smooth and well-dampened aperture ring, though it's not clicked, which some photographers might miss, but I didn't really find it a big deal, or I wasn't accidentally changing it while I was out in the field. The focus ring is also equally as smooth, making it very easy to focus, but because it's such a wide angle and has such a deep depth of field, I typically set the lens at f5.6 or f8 with 2 feet to infinity on the focus ring, and I was getting everything in focus. So as I said before, the lens mount is metal, but there's no rubber gasket or electrical contacts, so the lens is not weather sealed, and it's going to be fully manual with respect to you're going to have to enter the focal length if your camera has image stabilization or IBIS, and also there's not going to be any EXIF data. And then here's something really unique, and I think this is something a lot of lens manufacturers should start doing, is that this has luminescent lens markings, meaning they glow in the dark. And I think this is something a lot of astrophotographers would really appreciate, because, you know, you're out there all night and you take about 30 minutes to get your night vision in your eyes, and then you want to check your settings, particularly like your aperture and your focus point, and you have to turn a light on, but you wouldn't have to do that with this lens, thereby maintaining your night vision. Now let's get to the good stuff and talk about sharpness and image quality, and I'll be testing this on my Sony a7R5 with its 60 megapixel full frame sensor, and all I can say is the results are really impressive, especially at this price point. Now looking at the optical design, we have 11 elements in 8 groups with an aperture of f2.8 to f16. And at f2.8, the center is razor sharp with great contrast, and even the corners hold up really well, with only in the extreme edges do we start to see a little softness and purple fringing. At f4, that sharpness and contrast improve across the frame, especially in the corners. And this lens, like most lenses, is best between f5.6 and f8, where it kind of hits its peakness, and even the corners are looking pretty solid. Overall, vignetting and chromatic aberrations are minimal, which really you only see them in the corners, and if you do get it, it's very, very easily corrected in post-processing. And fisheye lenses are known for flaring and glare given the extreme wide field of view that they have to cover, but as you can see in these images here, even though I'm shooting directly into the sun, I was able to get the lens to flare, but it's pretty minimal. But even more impressive than that is that the contrast throughout the entire image is still very, very high. It really wasn't affected. Now this lens has a 15 centimeter minimum focusing distance, which allows you to get very, very close to your subject, as you can see here. And you can create some very dramatic shots. Now even wide open at f2.8, the lens is very, very sharp with just a minor touch of color fringing that completely vanishes by f4. And surprisingly, you get very soft bokeh, which is a rare treat for a fisheye. Now chroma, which looks like a little bit of smearing, particularly like in astrophotography shots, when you're looking at the stars, you might see a little bit of smearing. And I did see that just ever so slightly at f2.8, and it was completely gone by f4. Now, unfortunately, it's not the right time of year or weather for me to capture these glorious Milky Way shots, but you can fully expect that this lens will perform very well when you want to do wide field astrophotography. And then finally, when it comes to sun stars, if you like that sort of thing, and personally I love sun stars in a lens, but I started getting them at f4 and they only got longer and sharper as we stopped down to f8, say f11. Now, if you've never tried a fisheye lens before, be prepared to have your perspectives completely changed. Now, I understand fisheye lenses aren't really on everybody's radar, but trust me, it's really a lens you should try. Even if you don't think it's your style, experimenting with a fisheye lens can really unlock some new ideas and perspectives and creativity that really are incredibly rewarding. And I just want to make a few other notes is that this lens has a 185-degree field of view, which means, yeah, you can actually see slightly behind you. And I had to be careful not to get my fingers in the frame when I was focusing the lens. So overall, I think this lens is a stellar performer that outshines its predecessor and really many other low-cost options. And whether you're shooting architecture or astrophotography or just experimenting and you want to add some creative flair to your shots, this lens has you covered. But that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed this review. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.